On this Friday edition of the OFN Today, Dave Cokin of Covers.com is here to preview 3 college football and 3 NFL games this week, including an important NFC South clash in Atlanta and some key SEC games. We'll also recap the Thursday night game, update the latest lines, injuries, and more as the OFN Today on the Our-Lads Football Radio Network starts now. It's Friday, September 21st, 2018. I'm Greg DePalma. Thanks for tuning in to the OFN Today. The OFN Today is brought to you by OurLads.com, providing the best pro and college football depth charts on the net. RotoExperts.com, where you receive great in-depth fantasy analysis and insights from Scott Engel and his team. And Covers.com, featuring live scores, stats, and odds, and is considered the most convenient and entertaining source for sports news and facts, with over 45 million visits a year. Don't forget, you can also email us at ofn@primesportsnetwork.com. Send your questions or comments there. You could also send them to our Twitter handle at PrimeSN, and you can follow our weekly analyst, Dave Cokin, at Dave Cokin. You could also check out his personal services by emailing him at cokin@cox.net. Dave, good to have you back. Did you enjoy the game last night?
What I saw of it, I didn't watch the entire game, but I did see the part that mattered with Baker Mayfield on the field, and the defense playing very well for Cleveland in the second half. Great. It's funny that the bars around Las Vegas that have Cleveland connections, they were absolutely insane last night. You'd have thought they won the Super Bowl.
Oh, yeah.
The places were packed, the drinks were flowing. I mean, it was kind of exciting.
Yeah, I was telling the listeners on the Jet show, the 2 Jet shows I did in the last 12 or 13 hours, that, look, really, if you just cut it all down, the fact is this was Cleveland's night. I mean, the team hasn't won since 2016. They're a good team. They're eventually going to start winning again. This is a very good young quarterback. This is not a bad football team. And it was a tough loss for the Jets. But, again, it's Cleveland's night. Let them have it. The Jets will have their night soon enough. They're an up-and-coming team, too. They've got a nice young quarterback as well. But give Cleveland all the credit in the world. And you just got to take a bow. And again, it all worked out for him. And it was really storybook the way it happened as well.
Yeah, and now Mayfield's the quarterback, and we've got one more rookie who'll be getting on the field soon enough because the veteran can't play at all, and that's in Arizona where Bradford. He is just shot.
Time to go.
Shot at this point. Yeah, he's done.
Maybe this game, just like the Cleveland game. Maybe, because I don't know. I wonder how much longer they stick with Taylor if he's healthy and he doesn't walk off into the locker room, with the injury thing. I don't know. Hugh Jackson's a funny man. I don't know if he stays with Taylor. He might have stayed with Taylor a lot longer. He might have stayed with him the whole game. We don't know.
Yeah, I mean, it's just a guess. I thought Mayfield was going to come out and play the second half regardless, assuming assuming Cleveland didn't get on the board in their last first half possession. So, I think it was the injury just accelerated things by one series.
Yeah, sure. And, of course, that's bad luck for the Jets. All right, let's talk about the games in college first coming up this Saturday. And I want to start in the SEC. There are – actually, I think you have to consider – I don't know. I mean, it's kind of tight because there are so many good games on Saturday in the SEC. Alabama, Texas A&M could actually be a lot better. I think this could be a lot better than the point spread. Matter of fact, I was talking to Teddy yesterday when he told me that the money line was like 25-1. I was like, sign me up. I mean, come on. I know Alabama's a great team, but I've seen great teams lose before. So 25-1. I'll throw $10 on that.
I'm not betting against Alabama in any fashion. They're the best college. This Alabama is the best college football team. It's possible they might be the best college football team I've ever seen.
Well, I think a lot of it is going to have to do with their defense because we know this offense looks like it's Saban's best.
Good.
And so if Texas A&M is going to win the game or be competitive, it's going to probably be in the 40s. And that's happened before to Alabama when they used to play Ole Miss. So we'll see.
Anything can happen.
Yeah, anything can happen. But the Georgia-Missouri game probably going to be more close, more entertaining at Missouri. Drew Lock has looked a lot more mature this season. They've look, the first few years with Lock under Heupel, it was just he was out there like Brett Favre almost. I mean, he was putting up big numbers one week and then throwing tons of interceptions and mistakes the next week. And I think what they've done is they've said, look, you're going to take that next step, and you're going to be maybe the top quarterback drafted in 2019. You need to start to mature and be a little bit more responsible with the ball. And if we're going to win as well, we don't want the turnovers. We don't want the reckless play. And that's what he's given. They haven't turned the ball over a lot. He's had a great start to the season. Georgia is a 14-point favorite. It is a road game. They've beaten Missouri 4 straight, but Missouri's covered 3 straight. I actually think it'll be 4 straight. I think this is going to be a good game going down to the fourth quarter. I think it might even go down to the last drive. I still, of course, have Georgia to win the game. They might pick to win the national championship. But Georgia could also lose this game and still win the national championship because they don't play in the same division as Alabama. But I think this is going to be a good football game. I'm very very excited to see how Missouri stands up in this one.
Yeah, I think Missouri's pretty good, but Georgia is beyond pretty good. And the problem is, what does Missouri do? Tighten up their pass defense. I mean, they gave up 572 yards
to
Purdue, and now they're facing this monster in Georgia with Fromm and then Fields. And Downing gets to the field. I mean, 54 for 67 for those guys, 8 touchdowns, 1 interception. Georgia's going to throw the ball all over the field on them. And I just don't – Missouri can't keep pace. I think Missouri's going to get their points, but because Locke is that good and the offense is functioning well. To me, the over is the play. It's a fairly high total, but Georgia's pass offense is not going to get stopped by Missouri. And in the end, it's just a matter of what Georgia wins by. That line's high. Georgia's an extremely public team at this point, so you're paying a premium anytime you want to play the Bulldogs. I think the way to look would be the total because Georgia's going to score and score a lot against Missouri.
All right, the other SEC game of note is Mississippi State at Kentucky, and this one's going to be Saturday night, so this will give you an opportunity after some of those big early games in the SEC. The Georgia game's at 12, the Alabama game at 3:30, and then you got the Mississippi State-Kentucky game at 7 o'clock. So it works out perfectly for SEC fans. Look, I've got this feeling that Mississippi State is for real. They are set up. I know there was a lot of talk in the preseason about it, and you hear that a lot though from teams, programs that usually they're not used to being at that top. This is the sleeper, and then you're like, okay, well, let's see. But they look every bit of that, thanks to Nick Fitzgerald, who can, obviously is a tremendous college quarterback because of his running ability. But Montez Sweat, first-team SEC defensive lineman, is off to another big season there. So they've got defense, they've got explosion on offense. But Kentucky's also a very exciting young team to keep an eye on with Terry Wilson and Blake Snell in the backfield, especially Wilson. That was a coup for them to get the number 1 JUCO quarterback in the nation.
He's been good. And Snell's a heck of a running back, although I'm not sure they can run the ball against Mississippi State. So Kentucky's going to have to get a big game through the air. The turnovers have been a bit of an issue for this team, and you cannot afford to give up possessions against Mississippi State. You mentioned Fitzgerald. The guy's been dynamite. I love the play calling, which seems to be something that's really bringing out the absolute best in Fitzgerald. I think Mississippi State is just too strong for Kentucky. I hate to sound this chalky, but Mississippi State, to me, is just going to keep on scoring. I know it's been against lesser competition, but 312 yards per game rushing and only giving up 85. Those teams just don't lose. Now, the flip side of that is Kentucky's also got a really good rushing game ratio of 282 yards per game, giving up 123. So, they're pretty good. The key to me, and what makes this game tough, is you can't handicap turnovers, but you just get the feeling that Kentucky has had turnover issues already, and they're probably going to have some more here. And I can see a free score for Mississippi State someplace. If that happens, they're going to end up covering.
All right, and then let's talk about a Big 12 under-the-radar game. Texas Tech at Oklahoma State. And Oklahoma State had a nice win over Boise State. They were a favorite in the middle of the week, and then they became the dog by kickoff, which was a bad sign for me because I had Boise State, and I didn't like that at all, being the favorite at a Big 12 program like Oklahoma State. And Oklahoma State, really it's their defense that has been impressive so far this season. They usually don't play defense there, but Brailford has got a lot of talent. He'll be playing on Sundays. And look, Cornelius, he's not Mason Rudolph, but he made some plays when he had to. And but this Texas Tech team, it is 14 points. And we never know what they're going to do on defense. I know I heard before the season that they were going to be better on defense, but they sure didn't look that way. But this freshman quarterback, they just keep throwing these quarterbacks out there at Texas Tech. This Alex Bowman kid. Wow. It's going to take some time to find out whether or not he's got pro potential. That's where Mayfield started out. But he sure looked – I mean, the guy looked really good. He's somebody that we need to keep an eye on.
Oh, I mean, 5 touchdown passes. He didn't look like a freshman, that's for sure. Now, Bowman looks like he might have a better skill set than what they've had at quarterback, which is scary.
Yeah.
But, every year we hear the same thing about Texas Tech. Well, they're going to be better on defense this year. And then they're not. And they're just terrible defensively. And Oklahoma State's athletes are going to burn them. Oklahoma State will take away whatever Texas Tech offers in the running game, which isn't that much anyway. Although, actually I shouldn't say that. They've run for 176 per game so far, so they're not doing badly through the on the ground. But, in the end, Texas Tech just can't stop anything. And that's why Oklahoma State's going to eventually pull away in this football game. I think the line's high enough to keep me away, but I don't really have any interest in Texas Tech because they just can't stop anybody. And all this buzz about the defense being improved is clearly nonsense.
All right, let's go to the NFL. We'll start off with the NFC South matchup, Atlanta and New Orleans. And Atlanta is a 3-point favorite. This is always. We usually get these games at least once a year on national TV because they're pretty good. The home team has won 3 straight in the series. New Orleans coming off that comeback win over Cleveland. It's still, though, you're wondering, okay, is that the beginning now of the Saints kind of getting out of their slumber? Or is there still something that's just not right with the Saints so far this season where Atlanta, look, they were once again one play away from beating the Eagles, and then they came in against Carolina, and it was a good football game, another divisional matchup. They took care of business there. Look, I liked Atlanta before the season began, barely over this New Orleans team, and nothing that so far what I've seen this year would lead me to believe that I should be changing my mind in this particular game. So 3 points, I'm not going to worry about the odds. So I think Atlanta's a pretty good play here. I need to see New Orleans kind of step up first.
And that's something they haven't done. They were extremely fortunate to get out of. Look, they're lucky they've got the record they've got so far. They were terrible against Tampa. I didn't think they were any good against Cleveland. I understand the Browns have a good defense, but the Saints' offense was just not sharp in this game. And if it's not for the kicker on Cleveland, New Orleans loses the football game. So they're not in good form right now. Atlanta showed something last week, which we haven't seen out of them. They actually had a red zone offense that worked. They put the ball in Ryan's hands, and he ran for one. And if Atlanta solved that problem, they're a pretty good football team. Like, the Saints are going to have to show me that they're more substance than hype right now because it's been the other way around for the first 2 games. They need a good performance here. Look, it's a divisional rivalry, and these are the types of games where it ends up going to the wire. So maybe the 3 points comes in handy in a close game. But right now, the only side I can look at really is Atlanta.
All right, Cincinnati and Carolina, and the Panthers are a 3-point favorite in this one, and they're a banged-up team right now. They got a couple of guys in the secondary, Searcy and Jackson. You've got Olsen on IR. The offensive lineman, Darrell Williams, is out. Khalil's, of course, out for the year. Thomas Davis is still suspended. Turner on the offensive line as well. He's dealing with a concussion. That's just a lot to deal with for Carolina. I still think overall, considering the offensive line issues, that Newton in the offense, I think that's not an issue right now. But But still, it's a lot of injuries, and for Cincinnati, Mixon's out, so that could be a factor long-term, not necessarily in one game, I would think. But then again, Bernard taking most of the snaps, not ideal. But look, Cincinnati was my pick to win the AFC South when the season began, and they've gotten off to a good start. But I've got to stay away from them here because they're on the road. And it's interesting that they're a dog now for the third straight game after winning and covering the first two, the Bengals.
Well, and I'm not sold on this Carolina team. I played under on their win total on the season, and I like that pick still. They won the first game, which they were supposed to win. Hung around last week, but it was a garbage touchdown that got it to 31-24 late. They've got a ton of injuries, as you mentioned, and the Bengals right now have a little something going. I think that they're surprising some people. Team with a lot of momentum. I think they're live here. I think Cincinnati's got a real chance to go on the road and win this football game. And the Panthers, right now, I won't say they're in disarray, but they're close to it. And if they lose this football game, which is a possibility, it might be time to start looking at going against Carolina on a regular basis. I think this team's in trouble.
All right, and then in the Sunday night game, not the Sunday night game. You've got the late in Sunday. You've got Dallas and Seattle, New England. And actually, you know what? We're going to get to that Sunday night game in just a second, New England, Detroit. I want to use that as a bonus game. But Dallas and Seattle, let's keep an eye on Sean Lee's injury situation, because every time Sean Lee misses games for Dallas, they're a completely different defense. And the defense has really led them so far this season, and had a big week against the Giants. For Seattle, they get Bobby Wagner back, which is huge. There's still a couple of injuries there with KJ Wright and Doug Baldwin, but they're back at home. We know how a completely different team Seattle is when they play at home. Plus, their backs are against the wall. You got everybody, all the national media is dissing Seattle, dissing everything that they're doing right now. I'm not, look, Dallas, okay, they impressively beat the Giants. But that was most of the defense. I'm not falling for Dallas. So I think Seattle's a good play here, because I don't even know what's the latest line on that game?
I can check that for you. It is Seattle 2 right now.
Yeah, I like Seattle then. That's just a win and you cover type game.
Well, look, Seattle, we know their problems are pretty clear. Their offensive line is absolutely horrible. The defense just isn't as good as it used to be, and I think maybe at best they're a 6 or 7 win team. They're just not very good. But I'm not buying the Cowboys. I don't put all that much into the victory over the Giants, who are completely overrated in my opinion. And Seattle's in a desperate situation here. Basically, their season's over if they lose this game. So you're going to get whatever you can get out of Seattle. I agree. I think they'll pull the game out. It's not a game I'm thrilled about. I don't think it'll make my card, but the check mark is next to Seattle.
Okay, and again, for that Sunday night game, this right now has to be my top play of the week. Anytime I can get the Patriots coming off a loss as a touchdown or less of a favorite, I don't care, home or away, doesn't matter to me. And they're playing a team that, you give Detroit credit for coming back in the second half. They could have gave up after the first game and the first half, but they didn't. They fought hard. So, like New Orleans, is that going to be the beginning of them kind of getting their game back? But against the Patriots, coming off a loss, Bill Belichick knows everything about Matt Patricia. Who cares that Matt Patricia knows everything about Bill Belichick? I really don't have a problem here, because I've said this before. I don't care about odds in the NFL as long as they're not double digits. If I like a team to win, I'm disregarding the points. And I can't see that the Patriots are going to be in a situation with a minute or two to go in this game that they may have the game in doubt. Playing the Lions right now, the way that they look dysfunctional, still to me, even after the comeback in the second half last week.
Yeah, they showed some life, but they were also way down in that football game. So, it might be that San Francisco kind of took its pedal off the metal. I don't like laying this many on the road, even with the Patriots. But the one thing I've learned over the years is just don't bet against the Patriots.
Yeah.
And you're probably going to come out ahead in the long run. I think the line's about where it should be on this game. I made New England 7. They're 7. So it's not going to be a play for me, but I'd be very surprised if the Patriots were to lose this football game.
Oh, yeah.
So this would be a game, if you're a teaser player, I think this is the one you put on top in the teaser because you're basically getting the Patriots where all they need to do is win the game, find someone to go with them, maybe a live dog
Yeah,
that's
that's
got a chance
interesting.
to stay close. I think that's a good bet.
Okay, yeah, that maybe you do the Super Bowl teams together. How about that? Really? You actually? I mean, it's interesting because Mark thinks that the Colts are going to play a tough game with the Eagles. I just still can't see the Eagles' first game for Carson Wentz losing to the Colts. Colts are banged up too. I mean, I'm gonna have a hard time thinking they're gonna lose that game.
And you know what? That's going to be a real popular teaser and one that might work. I have a tendency to look more for dogs if I'm going to do a teaser because then I'm getting a load of points.
Oh, you mean like double it up, like a big dog? Okay.
Yeah, I mean.
Would Buffalo count in that? Would you go with 23?
No, I don't want any part of them. Like San Francisco, San Francisco. If you're teasing them up to almost 2 touchdowns,
That's true.
I don't think they're going to get blown out by Kansas City. I don't think they'll win the game, but if you get me 13 points or so with San Francisco and then New England at Pick'em, basically, I think you're pretty live there.
Yeah, that's because I actually, I was going over all my upsets in the NFL have to be 3.5 point dogs or more to be considered a true upset for me. And I usually like trying to get 5 or 6 or 7, in that number. And the only ones that interest me this week were because of the good teams, were the Chargers and and the Niners. And I was only even remotely thinking Tennessee because they've dominated the series against Jacksonville recently. But I kind of narrowed it down to the Chargers and the Niners. And then I kind of said, you know what, I'm probably better off with the Niners because, no Bosa. Rams are at home and all that. And with the Chiefs, you just never know about the Chiefs when they're at home. They're just a completely different team when you're taking them as the home favorite as opposed to the road dog under Andy Reid. And we saw that in the playoffs last year.
Yeah, and here's the thing. Look, there's no denying the Chiefs' offense has been sensational in the first 2 weeks. And Mahomes looks like he's just going to be a great quarterback. Their defense is not good.
No. It's not.
It is not a good defense. And right now, I think the public is just too much in love with the Chiefs off what they've seen. They're a decent football team, but they're not a great team by any stretch. And I think San Francisco is as good as the Chiefs. I think this might be one of the best games on the Sunday schedule.
Huh, okay. Yeah, it was funny. I was, everybody was just talking up Mahomes this week. And, look, he deserves the admiration to a point. But you got some of the guys on TV like getting just way too carried away. Like it's 2 games, okay? Stop talking about him like he's the best quarterback, like one of the best in the NFL already. And they're like dissing Jimmy Garoppolo like in this matchup. Like remember before the season began, the media was all over Garoppolo. Now he loses a game and has a so-so second game, and Mahomes goes crazy. And now all of a sudden Mahomes is easily better than Garoppolo.
Well, this ties into the old theory that you talk about with most people remembering only the last thing they saw.
Yes.
And
especially now, today in this age with social media. Yeah. Absolutely.
Yep. So, right now, Pat Mahomes is probably – Pat Mahomes was his dad. He's probably the best quarterback of all time based on current public reaction.
I think you're right. And that'll change if he has a bad game on Sunday, and it'll be Jimmy Garoppolo again if he plays well. All right, Dave, so we'll talk again next week, and just want to remind everybody that they could purchase a package of yours by going to your website, smokeandcokin.com, and they could also reach you on email at Cokin, at Cokin@cox.net, and again, at Dave Cokin, your Twitter handle, so it's all about Dave Cokin. Dave, I'll talk to you next Friday. Enjoy the games.
Sounds good, Greg. Let's have a good weekend.
Absolutely. You too, Dave. All right, that's Dave Cokin from Covers.com. You could also check them out at experts.covers.com. And every Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday right here on the OFN Today, we get the major assist from the Covers.com people. And that is Mark on Wednesdays, Teddy on Thursdays, and Dave on Fridays. So we've already, I think we've gone over, we've gone over like 10 NFL, no, yeah, I think we've gone over like 10 NFL games and definitely over 10 college football games over the last 3 days combined. So every week, and we get a good variety. Oh, and by the way, throw in, of course, our college football coverage with Mitch Light from Athlon on Thursdays, and that jacks up our college football coverage to about 20 games a week. So we give you as much analysis, updates, injuries. And by the way, as far as injuries, just quickly looking over the ones that you should keep an eye on besides the games we've already mentioned. Dalvin Cook may not play with Buffalo. Jay Ajayi may not play for the Eagles. Again, the Colts are banged up with Costanzo, Doyle, and Max, so keep an eye on that. Parker possibly still out for the Dolphins. You have Vernon possibly still out for the Giants. They got a new center. And I think that pretty much covers it. Keep an eye on DeCastro and Gilbert on the offensive line for the Steelers on Sunday. And if you want our college football injury roundup, you can check out the College Football Show, College Football Weekly. It's available on demand right now at ourlads.com. Follow us on Twitter at PrimeSN. Receive our commentary, analysis, and, of course, our on-demand media alerts for every OFN show. Thanks again for listening to the OFN Today on the Our Lads Football Radio Network. We'll see you again on Tuesday for another edition and a brand new week. Enjoy your football this weekend. You know the drill. Alpha, Mike, Foxtrot.